Hello, hello, hello. It's Central Strong, aka Kiddo Central. I'm back on my podcast with another episode. And this episode here is going to be a really powerful one. I don't want to keep it too long, but I want to keep it very powerful at the same time. So I know you're going to gain a lot out of this episode, as I will myself, and I'm the one who's podcasting the episode at the same time. But this episode is mainly about drugs and the pain that drugs will cause that would be inevitable to pretty much dodge. And first thing is first is that your health is your wealth. If you're not healthy, if you're not in a good condition with your body or with your medical situations or just in a medical standpoint, overall, you're just going to have a difficult life. No matter how much money you make, no matter how much accolades you have, no matter how much success you have obtained, if you're not healthy, it's going to definitely get you in a bad position in your life, no matter what. And drugs, I always live by the motto because I don't do drugs. I'm not gonna lie, I've experimented in college and done some fun things in college, but that was years ago. I'm in college online now, which is better for me anyway. But I live by the saying now, and I know I'm 25, so I'm kind of getting up there in age. Don't take something that kills you that makes you feel alive. I highly doubt that anyone wants to die at an early age. At least people that care about themselves. And I understand, smoking weed, it might help people with anxiety, or it might help people cope with distress. It might be beneficial to those people. And typically, if it's medical weed, I'm not talking about that. You're getting that prescribed by a doctor. If it's something genuinely helping you and there's no physical signs or any physical examinations or findings that shows that what you're taking is hurting you and killing you, then clearly I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about drugs that you're taking to look cool. Drugs that you're taking to just, fit in. Drugs that you're taking to just avoid problems and not solve them. Those are the things I'm talking about. And those things are not good for you. No matter how hard things are, I highly recommend you not going down that path. Because all it's going to do is hurt you at the end of the day. What I mean by that, I want to just go into some factors, how drugs are dangerous for people. And whether you smoke it, whether you eat it, whether you drink it, or whether you do other ways. I don't want to get into the other ways, but many of us know how people consume drugs. It's dangerous either way. One thing is drugs definitely mess with your mind. Your memory, your consciousness, your touch of reality, all kinds of things can be damaged, possibly permanently, with no recovery by doing a drug. And you could do it just one time, and it could literally impact you for the rest of your life. So drugs that are clearly very, high risk, any illicit drug that you shouldn't take, but you want to experiment, quote unquote, you must always consider that factor. And the biggest thing is, I would tell you by my own experience, by what I've seen people go through, I wouldn't recommend drugs at all. Even for experimentation, I would not recommend it. I mean, literally, it's just not right. Whether it's a psychedelic, whether it's something that is made in a lab, or whether it's something legal in most states like Delta 9 or something in that nature, I wouldn't really recommend it. If you do something like that, I would make sure that there's the least amount of damage that your lungs or any body part can take from doing it. I would just say not do it at all, but if you really want to do it and you just want to live your life, I would make sure that I take the least risky thing out there that is so non-risky it doesn't even consider to be a drug to most people. So that's first thing first, is that drugs, it definitely messes with your mind. It would make you have psychosis episodes. It can make you have things like depersonalization disorder. It can make it where you have issues with memory. Like I said that before, it could literally make you like have social anxiety. It can do things to you that can literally ruin your life, and you would never think it would. I promise you that it can do something that deep. And whether you do it once or whether you do it 1,000 times, it can do something like that. So that's one thing I want you to think about. Secondly, drugs will probably just make you more of a greedy person. I know, there's people who do drugs and they will literally steal things from people or from stores, you name it, and try to sell it to get more drugs. That's going to tie into the third point that I'm going to jump into. It definitely makes you a person that you normally don't want to be. You don't want to be that guy that everyone hates or no one trusts because you're known to take things from people or to manipulate people, or to worse yet, to even steal things from people, which is all three are bad, but still. So you can get a gain from feeling high, even though really it's hurting you, it's hurting the people that you're using, and it's just hurting society. So I would just recommend not doing drugs for that reason too, because it would definitely make you more of a dysfunctional person, or have a dysfunctional life, a dysfunctional personality. It'll just make you dysfunctional a little bit more overall. Not a little bit more, but a lot more than what you probably will be if you don't do drugs. Thirdly, they're addictive. A lot of times when people do drugs, it's hard to get off of them. Whether they do it once or whether they do it a million times, it's kind of hard for people to get off of drugs because drugs are known to be addictive. They're known to be just very hard to cope with while you're on it and while you're trying to get off of it. So that's another reason why I say drugs are not good. It's not worth the risk. It's not worth the try. And literally, I just rather hear on the news that drug usage is going down instead of going up. And you can play a big role in that by just not taking it. There's other ways you can have fun. You could have fun sober. You could live life sober. You could go to parties sober. You could do things sober. There's nothing wrong with being sober. Or there's nothing wrong with having a beer every once in a while. Or having wine every once in a while. Or doing those things in moderation. And even alcohol, that can be considered a drug. I'm not going to make it sound that alcohol is a perfect thing, because it's definitely not. But I'm saying that because alcohol is something that's more statistically known to be something people can control. That's why it's legal in every state or every country even, I think. And something that is more simple for the mind to have an understanding of, and just for people to have self-control, And I would not recommend drinking that much either. Dangerous. It can mess with your blood flow. It can do all kinds of stuff. But drinking every once in a while, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about constant usage of bad drugs, illicit drugs, or even alcohol, which is not an illicit drug, but still. Vaping, weed, cigarettes, all of it. Even energy drinks. I would be mindful of how much I take of those, because those are not safe either. I'm going to get into one more point. I'm going to get into 2 more points. I'm going to make 5 points on this. Fourth, drugs are just pretty much decriminalized. I would break my heart to hear someone go into prison for several years because they done drugs or they're selling drugs, and here it is, they were struggling being free with drug issues. So now they're going to probably struggle a lot more being locked up with their freedom stripped away from them from doing some type of drug or selling some type of drug and getting caught for it. And now they're in jail or prison fighting for their lives with countless of other factors like guards and, cellmates that might want to hurt someone, and like barely even eating food, if not eating food at all. Things of that nature. Plus, they're going through a withdrawal with drugs, and now they're in a tough spot. And I don't want to hear that happening to someone, And I pray to God that someone will listen to this all the way through this podcast. But just I will always remember that drugs can lead to legal problems that can literally mess up your life, mess up the opportunities that you have with jobs, serving at churches, serving out in the community, or just it could tarnish your image. People can look at you totally different without even knowing who you are because of the drugs you take. So I will be mindful of that. Fifth and lastly, drugs aren't ever a good thing. This is kind of like a bland statement. This one's kind of like it doesn't really take much thought to find out. But drugs are not a good thing. There's nothing good with putting something in your system and messing with organs and things in your system because momentarily you're upset. Or momentarily, you're just so caught up with life that you need something to pretty much get your mind off of it. There's other ways, you can deal with that. There's therapists, there's the gym, there's communities, there's churches out there, and none of that has anyone doing drugs with it. So I would definitely take a look at that if you want to cope with life, even if you want to do it alone. You don't want to be alone if you want to pretty much succeed and live your best life without friends being around all the time or without anyone being around. That's on you. But the biggest thing is whether you're alone or whether you're with a group of friends or whether you're with a whole army of people, family, whoever, family, friends, or even by yourself alone. You can be successful too alone. You can be amazing alone as well. Stay healthy and keep yourself well. Treat your body the way you want your body to treat you. And your body doesn't want drugs in it. So please, I would recommend not doing drugs ever. And there's many stories that people could tell you about their drug usage and their drug stories, and I can guarantee you, when they got off of it, they would more likely tell you they wish they never got on it. So I just want you to remember that. With all being said, drugs, they will make you feel good, and from the outside, from within, they'll make you feel worse than hell. So please, whoever's listening to this, I would not take drugs for something that's happening from the outside that would potentially destroy everything I have inside. My organs, my heart, my lungs, my liver, my brain, my vision, my hearing, my bones, my muscles, my stomach, my chest. Jeez, it might even come after my lower body. So I pray to God that this helps someone. That this will really make someone understand that drugs are not okay, that they're unsafe, and that not a single human being I would recommend doing drugs. And I've done it before. I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still alive. But just think about it. How would your parents feel like if they see you in a rehab center and you're stuck fighting for your life while your parents are weeping and crying, watching you struggle? When they were never the ones that would put you in that spot, and they were probably wanting you to stay away from that spot. How would you feel if you had a child and they're struggling with this issue of taking drugs and being addicted to that? That could be heartbreaking too. That's also something I would want you to think about if I were you, about drug usage. But with all being said, this is my podcast. I pray someone got out of it. Stay strong, stay you, stay good, stay wise, and stay away from drugs. Thank you.